John Owen Brennan is an American government official who is the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. He has served as chief counterterrorism advisor to U.S. President Barack Obama. His title was Deputy National Security Advisor for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, and Assistant to the President. His responsibilities included overseeing plans to protect the country from terrorism and respond to natural disasters, and he met with the President daily. Previously, he advised Obama on foreign policy and intelligence issues during the 2008 presidential campaign and transition. Brennan withdrew his name from consideration for director of the Central Intelligence Agency in the first Obama administration over concerns about his support for the use of torture by the CIA under President George W. Bush. Instead, Brennan was appointed Deputy National Security Advisor, a position which did not require Senate confirmation. Brennan's 25 years with the CIA included work as a Near East and South Asia analyst, as station chief in Saudi Arabia, and as director of the National Counterterrorism Center. After leaving government service in 2005, Brennan became CEO of the Analysis Corporation, a security consulting business, and served as chairman of the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, an association of intelligence professionals. President Barack Obama nominated Brennan as his next director of the CIA on January 7, 2013. The ACLU called for the Senate not to proceed with the appointment until it confirms that all of his conduct was within the law at the CIA and White House. John Brennan was approved by the Senate Intelligence Committee on March 5, 2013 to succeed David Petraeus as the director of the CIA by a vote of 12-3. Early life and education: Brennan, the son of Irish immigrants from Roscommon, was raised in North Bergen, New Jersey. He attended the Immaculate Heart of Mary Elementary School, and graduated from St. Joseph of the Palisades High School in West New York, New Jersey before enrolling at Fordham University in New York City. While riding a bus to class at Fordham, he saw an ad in the New York Times that said the CIA was recruiting, and felt a CIA career would be a good match for his wanderlust and his desire to do public service. He received a B.A. in political science from Fordham in 1977. His studies included a junior year abroad learning Arabic and taking Middle Eastern Studies courses at the American University in Cairo. He also received a Master of Arts in Government with a concentration in Middle Eastern Studies from the University of Texas at Austin in 1980. He speaks Arabic fluently. Brennan is married to Kathy Pokluda Brennan, by whom he had one son and twin daughters. Career highlights: Brennan began his CIA career as an analyst, presumably in the Washington, D.C. area, and spent 25 years with the agency. At one point in his career, he was a daily intelligence briefer for President Bill Clinton. In 1996 he was CIA station chief in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia when the Kaaba Towers bombing killed 19 U.S. servicemen. In 1999 he was appointed Chief of Staff to George Tenet, then Director of the CIA. Brennan became Deputy Executive Director of the CIA in March 2001. He was Director of the newly created Terrorist Threat Integration Center from 2003 to 2004, an office that sifted through and compiled information for President Bush's daily top-secret intelligence briefings and employed the services of analysts from a dozen U.S. agencies and entities. One of the controversies in his career involves the distribution of intelligence to the Bush White House that helped lead to an orange terror alert over Christmas 2003. The intelligence, which purported to list terror targets, was highly controversial within the CIA and was later discredited. An Obama administration official does not dispute that Brennan distributed the intelligence during the Bush era but said Brennan passed it along because that was his job. His last post within the intelligence community was as director of the National Counterterrorism Center in 2004 and 2005, which incorporated information on terrorist activities across U.S. agencies. Brennan then left government service for a few years, becoming chairman of the Intelligence and National Security Alliance and the CEO of the Analysis Corporation now renamed as SOTA Defense Solutions. He continued to lead TAC after its acquisition by Global Strategies Group in 2007 and its growth as the Global Intelligence Solutions division of Global's North American technology business GTEC, before returning to government service with the Obama administration as Homeland Security Advisor on January 20, 2009. On January 7, 2013, Brennan was nominated by President Barack Obama to be Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Counterterrorism advisor to Obama, in late 2008 Brennan was the reported choice for Director of the CIA in the incoming Obama administration. Brennan withdrew his name from consideration because of opposition to his CIA service under President George W. Bush and past public statements he had made in support of torture and the transfer of terrorism suspects to countries where they might be tortured. Obama then appointed him to be his chief counterterrorism advisor, a position that did not require Senate confirmation. In August 2009, Brennan criticized some Bush administration anti-terror policies, saying that waterboarding had threatened national security by increasing the recruitment of terrorists and decreasing the willingness of other nations to cooperate with the U.S. He also described the Obama administration's focus as being on extremists, and not jihadists. He said that using the second term, which means one who is struggling for a holy goal, gives these murderers the religious legitimacy they desperately seek, and suggests the U.S. is at war with the religion of Islam. In an early December 2009 interview with the Bergen Record, Brennan remarked, "The U.S. intelligence and law enforcement communities have to bat 1.000 every day. The terrorists are trying to be successful just once." At a press conference days after the failed Christmas Day bomb attack on Northwest Airlines Flight 253 by Umar Farouk Abu Muttalib, Brennan said U.S. intelligence agencies did not miss any signs that could have prevented the attempt, but later said he had let the president down by underestimating a small group of Yemeni terrorists and not connecting them to the attempted bomber. Within 2 weeks after the incident, however, he produced a highly critical report of the performance of U.S. intelligence agencies, concluding that their focus on terrorist attempts aimed at U.S. soil was inadequate. In February 2010, he stated on Meet the Press that he was tired of Republican lawmakers using national security issues as political footballs, and making allegations where they do not know the facts. Drone Program. In April 2012, Brennan was the first Obama administration official to publicly acknowledge CIA drone attacks in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. In his speech he argued for the legality, morality, and effectiveness of the program. The ACLU and other organizations disagreed. Indiana, 2011-2012. He also helped reorganize the process, under the aegis of the Disposition Matrix database, by which people outside of war zones were put on the list of drone targets. According to an Associated Press story, the reorganization helped concentrate power over the process inside the White House administration. In June 2011, Brennan claimed that U.S. counterterrorism operations had not resulted in a single collateral death in the past year because of the precision of the capabilities that unregistered trademark they've been able to develop. 9 months later, Brennan claimed he had said we had no information about any civilian, non-combatant deaths during the time frame in question. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism disagreed with Brennan, citing their own research that initially led them to believe that 45 to 56 civilians, including 6 children, had been killed by 10 U.S. drone strikes during the year-long period in question. Additional research led the Bureau to raise their estimate to 76 deaths, including 8 children and 2 women. According to the Bureau, Brennan's claims do not appear to bear scrutiny. The Atlantic has been harsher in its criticism, saying that Brennan has been willing to lie about those drone strikes to hide ugly realities. According to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, Brennan's comments about collateral death are perhaps explained by a counting method that treats all military-aged males in a strike zone as combatants unless there is explicit information to prove them innocent. CIA Director, Nomination. United States President Barack Obama twice nominated Brennan to serve as Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Morris Davis, a former chief prosecutor for the Guantanamo Military Commissions, compared Brennan to Canadian Omar Khadr, who was convicted of committing murder in violation of the law of war. He suggested that Brennan's role in targeting individuals for CIA missile strikes was no more authorized than the throwing of the grenade Khadir was accused of. On February 27, 2013, the Senate Intelligence Committee postponed a vote, expected to be taken the next day on the confirmation of Brennan until the following week. On March 5, the Intelligence Committee approved the nomination 12-3. The Senate was set to vote on Brennan's nomination on March 6, 2013. However, Kentucky Senator Ron Paul began a talking Senate filibuster of the vote, citing President Barack Obama and his administration's use of combat drones, stating no one politician should be allowed to judge the guilt, to charge an individual, to judge the guilt of an individual and to execute an individual. It goes against everything that we fundamentally believe in our country. Paul's filibuster continued for 13 hours, after which Brennan was confirmed by a vote of 63-34. Brennan was sworn into the office of CIA Director on March 8, 2013. Quotes, "As far as the allegations of the CIA hacking into Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth. We will unregistered trademark T do that. I mean, for unregistered trademark S just beyond the scope of reason in terms of what we do." Conversation with Andrea Mitchell of NBC News. March 11, 2014. See also, List of U.S. Executive Branch SARS, Disposition Matrix, References. External links, Shane, Scott. Senate Committee approves Brennan for CIA Director. The New York Times. Cole, David. 13 Questions for John O. Brennan. New York Review of Books. Text of John O. Brennan's speech on drone strikes at the Wilson Center. Lawfare. April 30, 2012. Nomination of John O. Brennan to be Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, hearing before the Select Committee on Intelligence of the United States Senate, 113th Congress, First Session, February 7, 2013, March 5, 2013. Interviews, Lake, Eli. Dozens of Americans believed to have joined terrorists. Washington Times. Retrieved February 25, 2013. Q&A, John Brennan, The Counter-Terror Campaign. National Journal. March 7, 2008. Retrieved February 25, 2013. The Dark Side, Interviews, John Brennan. Frontline. June 20, 2006. A.